Hi everyone, I'm Sarah from Inkno, and thank you for joining us on this video today about how your students can submit photos to you in and during your PowerPoint presentations. So when you're using ClassPoint, there is an image upload activity, which allows you to ask your students a question, and then they must answer and respond to your question in an image. So this is a really creative way to get your students active and engaged during your class. Before we go any further, I do want to remind you guys to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can stay updated with all the different ClassPoint product updates and tutorials we have, along with our EdTech tips and tricks for your classroom. When we're using the image upload activity in ClassPoint, there are 3 different ways for students to upload images. So they can either take a photo from their surroundings, they can take a screenshot of what is on their device, and lastly, they can upload an image that's already saved onto their device. So a photo from the past or something they found on the internet and saved onto their device. So from these 3 different ways to upload images, we have 4 different examples on how to use this in your classroom. So before we get into all those different ways to use image upload, I do want to tell you guys a little bit about how to set it up. So let's get started on setting up an image upload question in your PowerPoint presentation. To set up an image upload question in your PowerPoint presentation is very easy. You just first need to make sure the ClassPoint's downloaded and installed, and then it will appear up in your PowerPoint ribbon. So in this slide deck here, we have our 4 different examples for image upload, and this first one doesn't have a button yet, so it's not interactive. So to do that, we just need to click on image upload, and it puts our button on screen and shows the side question panel. So here you guys can choose if you want your students to remain anonymous when they submit and change any of the play options that will affect how the button is run when you're doing your presentation. So once that's all ready, we're ready for our presentation, and we can begin with our first use case of using image upload in your classroom. One way to use image upload in your classroom is to use it to have students submit a photo to show in class participation. So there are a variety of different ways and things that you can have students take a photo of to show their participation, but today's example is taking a photo of a physical worksheet here. So our example is on food pyramid. So we have been discussing health and different foods, and I gave students time to fill out their worksheet, and now I want them to upload a picture so that I know that they did their work. So once everything is set up, you guys can go into your presentation mode, and students on a mobile device can also go to classpoint.app, use the class code in the corner, enter their name, and join the class. Once that's all completed, they'll be able to see your slides. And when you start the image upload question, students can click to choose their image to upload. So like I said before, you can upload one from a library, take a photo, or browse the internet for one. So we are going to take a photo, and we can go and hover over our worksheet to take a picture. We can use this photo, and it will give you a little bit of options to quickly edit this image. So we can give it a quick rotation and crop it a little bit and click confirm. And then on the teacher side, you will see when your students have uploaded their image. If you do need to see it bigger, you can always click on the image and scroll through once more students have uploaded images. And if you need to, when all the students are done, close the submission and you can save them for review so that after your presentation is over, if time was crunched during class, you can always go back and look at these images more closely and count your students who have participated. The second way to use image upload in your classroom is to have students submit work from a digital whiteboard application. So when students are using a digital whiteboard application, they can do their work right on their device instead of doing it on paper and having to upload it later. So this is recommended when students have a tablet or a touchscreen device, because sometimes it's a little bit harder to draw when you're using a mobile device. So if you're doing it this way, for our example here, we have a group work that students were working on plant life cycles. So they were putting together their plant life cycle on a digital whiteboard application. And I have a copy of that here pulled up with Explain Everything. And I just need to take a screenshot of this work. It will save to my photos on my device. And when we go back into ClassPoint, when this question button has begun, this time when I click to choose an image, I can choose from my photo library. So we click on that photo and choose it. If we need to do any kind of cropping, we can go ahead and do that and click confirm. So in this way, the teacher can go over this plant life cycle, check and see if it's right or not, and continue on with the lesson. One thing that you can do once all the submissions are closed, you can choose to insert your students' results as a slide. So then this way, if you need to, you can always write and annotate right over top of your students' work. So you can say, you know, this is actually step 3 in the plant life cycle, if that is the case, if somebody did a wrong answer. Another way to use image upload in your classroom is to have students submit a photo for brainstorming session. So you can use this when students may not have a photo on their device already, or that they can easily draw or take a screenshot of. So students can search the web and upload an image in that way. Plus, this is really helpful because you'll be able to see a variety of your student responses all at once, which adds more to this brainstorming element of the question. So in this example, we want to have students upload an image of an artifact from the Mayan times. So students can just open up another browser tab on their device and search for a Mayan artifact. And once they find an image that is suitable, they can either take a screenshot or save it onto their device by just hovering over and adding it to photos. Then when they go back into their ClassPoint tab and the question has been opened, they can click to choose an image again from their photo library and submit the photo that they just took from the web. The last idea that we have for you guys to use image upload in your classrooms in this video today is to have students submit a photo that they've taken of real life objects in their surroundings. So you can use this example to help students to reinforce a topic. So today our example is having students upload an image of a sphere in their surroundings. So if you're teaching geometry and students are struggling with the shapes, you can have them really think about where they're seeing these things in their everyday life. And then they can go around and take a picture and submit it so you know that they're really understanding the topic. So once the question has started, students can go ahead and choose an image by taking a quick photo of their sphere. They can use that, and then you're able to check and make sure that all of your students are understanding this topic. Thank you guys for following along on how to set up an image upload question in your PowerPoint presentation and about the 4 different ways that you can start using it in your classroom. I think this question is pretty unique and a really fun, creative way to get your students active in a different way. If you guys are using image upload in a different way in your classes, let me know. I always enjoy hearing how our ClassPoint users are using it in their classrooms. Plus, it adds more interaction with your students to really make them feel like they're a part of the lesson and in your PowerPoint presentation. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit subscribe, and then that way you can stay updated when we release a new video and you can join our ClassPoint family. I'll see you guys next time.